Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Government cuts the cost of quarantine for returning nationals in St. Lucia. This story takes the lead in our 1051st edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 17th February 2021. Details after this break.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
Welcome back. Returning nationals will be paying less for quarantine in St. Lucia. The government there, which will be absorbing a greater part of the fee, has cut the costs paid by returning nationals. Joachim Duplessis of HTS News Force reports.
The government of St. Lucia has announced a reduction in the cost of state quarantine for returning nationals. The state is now bearing more of the cost as St. Lucians shift to a state-based quarantine system with very few exemptions for at-home management of all incoming nationals. Public Relations Manager at the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, Jermaine Georges, says the government will continue to cover the cost of locals and residents on St. Lucia who are placed in state quarantine and isolation.
The daily fees announced in August by the government of St. Lucia indicated that single occupancy would have been $95 US per day, double occupancy $160, and triple occupancy $240. And double and triple occupancy applies to families within the same unit. These fees have now been reduced to $25, $45, and $65 US respectively. The government, in acknowledging the nature of the COVID-19 pandemic, will continue to honor applications for financial exemptions, and that includes students who have completed their studies within 3 months and are returning home, and to persons who have traveled for medical care. The government is also considering dire socioeconomic needs, including the forced repatriation of nationals.
During the quarantine period, all returning nationals will be swabbed for COVID-19 testing on the 7th day. A negative PCR result and other prerequisites could lead to a home quarantine stay under electronic monitoring.
And those receiving a negative PCR result and meet the criteria to thereafter quarantine at home will be given the permission to do so, of course, with the wearing of the Amber Solution watch and the BioIntelliSense sticker. Those who do not meet the requirements to quarantine at home following the 7-day swab will have to ensure that they are covered for the full 14-day period at the state quarantine.
Georges reiterates that it is important that returning nationals avail themselves of travel requirements and procedures.
We want to remind our returning nationals and residents that only essential travel is encouraged at this time. And we want to also remind them that the portal for registration of travel, the listing of all of the protocols and the health screening declaration and all of the necessary forms as it relates to entry into St. Lucia can be found on the portal www.stlucia.org/COVID-19. We want to remind nationals that they must print the necessary documents for travel and ensure that the documents that require pre-filling are done in advance so as to ensure smooth transitions at the airports in St. Lucia.
Permission for home quarantine will be granted after application through the portal www.stlucia.org. Travelers must obtain and upload a negative PCR COVID-19 test within 5 days of travel into St. Lucia. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.
Barbados' national pause to fight the spread of COVID-19 was extended until February 28, 2021. The provisions of the emergency directive, including the 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, remain in place. Prime Minister Mia Mottley announced the extension during an address to the nation on Monday afternoon. Even as the time is extended, there are a few concessions being granted. Mini-marts, which are now allowed to operate under the current directive, can now do so from Monday to Friday. However, mini-marts and supermarkets are to remain closed on weekends. The post office will reopen on Thursday to facilitate the cashing of pension checks, and remittance offices will also be open. Barbadians and residents can continue to enjoy the beach from 6 to 9 a.m., but Motley warned they would be closed if people did not physical distance. She said the COVID monitoring unit would be deployed on the beach to aid with enforcement. Over in Trinidad, the name Abood is synonymous with the business community there. So, it is no surprise that President of the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association, Gregory Abood, was present at the unveiling of a pair of symbolic lions at the foot of Chinatown on Tuesday of last week. The erecting of the statues are just part of the ongoing project to transform Charlotte Street into Chinatown and cement the relationship between the two countries. But while many were expressing gratitude to China for its continued investment, the Doma president appeared to have some reservations. TV6's Renessa Cutting reports.
Mere days after the Prime Minister had to clarify comments he made about TNT's business relationship with China versus the US, President of the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association, Gregory Abood, took the opportunity to address the issue frontally with representatives of the People's Republic at the unveiling of a pair of lion statues at the foot of Chinatown.
Given the incredible size of your country, given the fact that your country now rivals the United States in terms of economic power, and given the very small, fragile state of our country, there are concerns that we are dancing with too big a partner in China. And there are concerns that China's involvement in Trinidad and Tobago will one day cause perhaps Chinatown to spread way outside of Port-au-Spain to other areas of the country.
The Doma president then moved beyond voicing concern to administering cautionary advice.
I do have a great deal of respect, and we all do have respect for your accomplishments and for your culture, and we ask the same of you in return. After all, true friendship, which we believe you are offering us, asks nothing in return for its contribution of friendship. And so on that note, I would like to thank you.
However, speaking just moments later, Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Amory Brown reiterated government's commitment to this country's relationship with the people of China.
I wish to publicly express the hope that Trinidad and Tobago and China can continue to build on the current trajectory of our relationship, which, based on what we see today, is on the right path.
He says the impetus for this project in part was the official visit to China by the Prime Minister in May of 2018, at which Dr. Rowley gave his support to the twinning of Port-au-Spain and Shanghai, with Chinatown being one outcome. Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Antigua and Barbuda have managed to secure additional ventilators in its fight against the COVID-19 coronavirus.
Health Minister Sir Malwin Joseph says the government is buying dozens of portable oxygen generators to treat COVID-19 patients.
The size we're buying is 15 liters per minute, which is good enough to take care of a very ill person. Normally you use 8. I said, no, double that.
The health minister says many people have become sick for failing to exercise personal responsibility over the Christmas and New Year's holidays. He says the health ministry's COVID-19 response is now focused on saving lives and making people well.
We have 3 portable ones with another 30 to come. So anybody who really takes sick and need oxygen, we can go to their homes and give them oxygen.
Meanwhile, Sir Malwin Joseph says Chief Medical Officer Dr. Rhonda Seeley-Thomas and her team have devised an efficient plan for the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines locally. He says the plan will cover the entire country, but must start somewhere. Well, after the first round of vaccination, Sir Malwin says other frontline workers will be offered the vaccine.
A vessel has been found drifting off Guyana shores with decomposing bodies on it. Let's hear what Gordon Mosley of Guyana News Source has to say on this issue.
The Guyana Defense Forces Coast Guard has dispatched a team of investigators to probe the discovery of a small boat in Guyana's waters with a number of dead bodies aboard. A senior military official has confirmed that the Guyana Defense Force and other agencies are probing the reports. The vessel was reportedly spotted earlier today by the crew of another vessel. The number of dead persons on the boat has not been confirmed. A probe by the crew of the outgoing vessel discovered the lifeless bodies and immediately alerted the local maritime administration, which contacted the GDF and other relevant agencies. All of the bodies found on the vessel are in a partly decomposed state. A source familiar with the discovery has told News Source that the vessel had no markings to indicate whether it is a Guyanese registered or from another country. The source also explained that the Coast Guard is working with the other agencies to get the direct location for the drifting vessel. Once the investigative team makes it to the vessel, their probe will seek to identify the registration of the boat and clues about the dead persons aboard it. News Source understands that the crew of the outgoing vessel that made the gruesome discovery has since dispatched some photographs from the vessel to local authorities. The Guyana Coast Guard is expected to brief the government on the discovery and the details of the initial probe. A few weeks ago, 2 Guyanese fishing vessels were detained and taken to neighboring Venezuela by the Venezuelan Coast Guard. They were released after 2 weeks in custody. There have also been reports of Venezuelan migrants using small vessels to sail across from Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago as they continue to flee economic crisis in their home. In the past also, there have also been attacks on fishing and other small vessels by pirates who traverse the waterways offshore Guyana. More news coming up in just a moment.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.